Welcome. This is Her America. I'm your host, Chaida. It feels appropriate to start off this episode with a trigger warning. Today, I'm going to be diving into topics that involve child sexual abuse, drugs, and addiction. So, listener discretion is advised. I used to watch shows like Victorious, iCarly, Drake and Josh. And looking back, it used to give me some nostalgia because I felt that was a golden era of child TV shows. Nowadays, it just doesn't feel the same. Because as a kid, when I used to watch these shows, I would just feel so happy and joyful just watching my favorite stars on these great shows. And now it feels depressing because you look back and you watch these shows and you just know that there was so much trauma and pain just happening behind the scenes, behind the camera for a lot of these child stars. Drake Bell, who is one half of Drake and Josh, recently came out and spoke about his child sexual trauma. He was raped by acting coach Brian Peck. Brian Peck was later on, after this incident, was charged with 11 counts of child sexual abuse in August of 2023, and he was later convicted the following year in October of 2024. He served 16 months in jail, and he listed as a registered sex offender. This was by the Business Insider. During the trial, there were letters that were sent out to the court in support of Brian Peck, actors who wrote on his behalf to support his moral character, I suppose. These actors include James Marsden and Ryder Strong. A few of these actors who wrote this letter in support of the acting coach later on confessed how they didn't know the extent of his crimes, and they later on expressed remorse. So there's that. However, based on what the article of Business Insider shared, Drake Bell had to now suddenly readjust to the pain of reading those letters that the actors wrote in support of Brian Peck. He says that it's some sort of new trauma to overcome. My heart just breaks for him because after his days on Nickelodeon, he disappeared. And it's almost like he just vanished because there was no new projects. He didn't move on to do more big acting roles. He just decided to curve out a path in silence. Jennette McCurdy, who is another child star actress, who appeared on iCarly and then later on Sam and Cat, she wrote a book, and I finished reading this book earlier this year. I know I'm late. I love the book. Her book was called I'm Glad My Mom Died. And I think that's just a fantastic, yes, it's really out there. That's a fantastic title for a book. And she explains through different events when she was on Nickelodeon, how the creator of the shows, iCarly, of both iCarly and Sam McCann, and Dan Snyder was a creator of various shows on Nickelodeon, not just iCarly and Sam McCann, who was also the creator of Victorious. In the book, Jennette McCurdy highlights stories of when Dan Snyder groomed and abused her. And she felt at the moment, at those times in her life, powerless, and felt she had to go with it. And she was just a young teenage girl. It was also important to note that Jennette McCurdy also had a narcissistic and abusive mother who probably didn't do anything to protect her. And it's just incredibly sad how a lot of these child acting stars had to go through this pain and trauma in silence. And I'm so happy that all of these stories are coming out. Netflix just did a documentary. They just released a documentary called Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV. And if you haven't watched it, I suggest give it a watch. The documentary is basically a deep dive into the stories of what it's like working behind the scenes on these various kids TV shows for both the child actors and the adult staff. And it goes over the neglect, the rape, the abuse, the trauma, the neglect, all of it. And I think hearing these stories, I think it's gotten the public interest, not just for the kids now, but for all of us young adults who grew up watching these stars on our favorite shows. We want answers. We want to know what happened. I think it's something great that something like this is bringing us all together, that we are demanding accountability, and that we are going to be holding everybody who allowed these types of abuse to happen behind the scenes. We want them all held accountable. And I think that is the feeling that I feel from everyone who's ever grew up watching these shows and watched these child actors provide great entertainment to them. We just want them to heal and be able to move on. And I think it's great to see so many people come together on this issue and say enough is enough. Stories like Jennette McCurdy and Drake Bell are just a few of hundreds and hundreds. We have witnessed firsthand the damage that the industry can create when they do not protect their child actors. From Amanda Bynes to Lindsay Lohan to Britney Spears to Demi Lovato to Miley Cyrus, we have seen time and time again throughout history, really, because this has taken a course of generations. What happens when we do not protect children. I speak a lot about foster care issues on this channel because when kids grow up in an environment that is unhealthy and not nurturing, and they do not feel secured and protected, they can go off on this binge later on in life. Whether that is going to be drugs and alcohol, abusing drugs and alcohol, arrests, wilding out, heavily partying. I think you guys know what I'm saying. Rage, and just this absolute disregard for society and for themselves. I think it is so important to listen to their stories, and not only listen, but to do something about it. I think going forward, we're going to see more protections and provision put in place to protect child actors from ever experiencing incidents like to this degree of rape, sexual assault, neglect, to prevent those incidents ever happening again. You cannot listen to their stories and listen to the stories of hundreds of child acting stars who share their pain and not do something about it. I think going forward, we're going to see Nickelodeon provide a whole new provision how they're going to protect their child stars, because this story is blowing up big and people want answers. And more importantly, they want accountability. And I just have this good feeling that things are just about to change. We're going to see a whole different era of the entertainment industry. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Her America.